We often want to filter our collection views based on the value of records within that collection. So here I have a list of all properties, but I also want to have a child page that only shows active properties in this portfolio. Now if I scroll here, I can see active properties, but I also see properties in different states like pending, under contract, etc. So to only show active properties on this particular view, I'm going to use filters. To enable a filter, I'm going to turn on edit mode using my keyboard shortcut Command E. Then I'm going to click to surface the builder sidebar. On the left hand side here, I'm going to click on filter, and I'm going to leave the top drop down as is to show all records as opposed to only showing records associated with the logged in user. Firstly here, I'm going to show you how to use these AND filters. And what this means is that records will only be shown that meet all the conditions of these filters. So I only want to show active properties in this view. So I'm going to filter by the status field, which is a single option field. I'm going to say that I only want to show properties where the status is equal to active. And for single option and multi-option fields like this, we conveniently show all the available options here. And this is perfect. I now only see active properties in my portfolio, but I could also add additional filters here if I wanted additional criteria to be met. For example, I might want to look at active properties and also properties where the listing start date is before today's date. Here I can choose dates, today's date, and let's say the start of day. So now properties will only be shown here that have the active status and their listing start date is before today's date. I could also add other filters as well. For example, if I only wanted to show properties here that have a price that's above $100,000, I could add a filter for that as well. So I'm going to say price now is greater than 100,000. So you can see that records are only shown now in this collection view that meet the criteria of all the three filters I've added here. That the status is active, the listing start date is before today, and the price is greater than $100,000. So far, we've seen how to use multiple filters based on AND conditions. But what if we want to show records that meet any of our criteria? This is where we could use an OR filter group. So as an example, I'm going to create another page here. And maybe as opposed to showing active properties, I want to show properties that are off the market. To do this, I'm going to firstly clone my top level page here as a nested view. I'm going to call this closed properties. Right now we're showing all properties in the portfolio, regardless of their status. So as I'm in builder mode here, I'm going to click to surface the builder sidebar. I want to add a filter. And as opposed to adding an AND filter group where all the criteria must be met, I'm going to add an OR filter group instead. So the first thing I might want to do is filter by the status. I might want to say that the status is one of, and then I'm going to choose either expired, cancelled, or closed. Because if the property meets any of those conditions, it should be off the market. But what if our statuses aren't necessarily up to date? What if there are properties in other states where the listing expiration date is actually in the past and the property should in fact be expired? So what I'm going to do is add an OR filter here. Say that the listing expiration date is before today's date. Now we can see several more properties that meet those criteria. So we've shown all the properties that have a status of closed, cancelled, or expired, and there are no properties in the cancelled or expired group yet. But our filter here would indicate that some properties, like this 4709 4th Street, actually has an expiration date in the past. So really this property should also be expired. So I can click into that specific record and update the status on the stages element here. So on this page, we've used OR filters to show properties that have a status of expired, cancelled, or closed, as well as any property where the listing expiration date is before today. And you can use as many conditions as you want within these different groups. For example, we could also add an AND condition here to filter on the price of the property and say that it's greater than 100,000. And now in this collection view, we'll show properties that either have a status of expired, cancelled, or closed, or properties that meet both of these conditions, where the listing expiration date is in the past and the property is valued at greater than $100,000. So that's how you can use filters to show specific records in collection views based on the values of particular fields within that collection.